Hello and welcome to episode 193 of the How to Survive podcast. Welcome aboard this non-stop service around the globe for Snowpiercer. Joining me in first class is Joe Sherville.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good. We're in the podcast recording carriage, which is situated between the spa, the nightclub, and just down the road from the dentist and tailors that are next door to one another.
Yeah. That's fine, mate.
This week's film is Snowpiercer. It's the 2013 Bong Joon-ho film, which is available to stream on Netflix in the UK after a lengthy dispute about its release.
Really?
Related to Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of his many.
What do you mean? How do you mean?
So my understanding of it is that he was in dispute with Bong Joon-ho over cutting a certain scene,
right? And
Bong Joon-ho didn't back down from it, and so the film just never got released in certain countries.
Is this the one you said the film critic had to get the train into France to get a copy of it?
Yeah, that's right. Get the train into France. Very appropriate for this week's film.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer. Did you enjoy it, Joe?
I did, but I don't know why. It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird. It's an interesting film. I'd really recommend that if you haven't seen it, you go check it out. It's very idiosyncratic and interesting. And it's also a bit of a romp as well. It's good fun.
Captain America's in it.
Captain America's in it. Tilda Swinton's in it.
Yeah.
Just in the one role this time.
Yeah.
It's quite a ride, appropriately enough. If you haven't heard the How to Survive podcast, the way things work around here is that all the poor people are situated towards the back.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we ride up front. No. If you haven't heard the How to Survive podcast before, we like to start with a recap of the film, which will spoil it rotten for anyone who hasn't seen it. So this is your final warning. Then we'll move on to what we did and didn't like about the film before finally talking about how we would survive if we found ourselves on the sacred engine, riding around the globe to escape the Ice Age.
Yes. Well, this is the Sacred Podcast.
Yes,
so it's fitting that we're finally covering the Sacred Engine.
Yeah, and so without further ado, let's run up to the recap, point the barrel at our heads, and pull the trigger.
This chaos. 1,000 people in an iron box. 18 years I've hated the train. 18 years I've waited for this moment.
This is the world. The train saved humanity.
The engine lasts forever. The population must always be kept in balance.
I said sit down.
Passengers, eternal order flows from the sacred engine. We must occupy our preordained position. I belong to the front. You belong to the tail. Know your place. Keep your place.
Those bastards in the front think they own us.
We'll be different when we get there.
What do you say?
We take the engine. And we control the world.
When is the time?
Soon.
An attempt to counteract global warming through climate engineering backfires, causing a second ice age and wiping out all life on Earth, save for those aboard Snowpiercer, a train powered by a perpetual motion engine whose tracks circumnavigate the globe.
That is an unfortunate result. It's a misjudgment, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They did not do the math correctly. The train's inventor, Wilford, lives on the train's front carriage. On board, the survivors are divided between the haves, who live in luxury in the front carriages of the train, complete with schools, tailors, spas, restaurants and nightclubs, and the have-nots, who live in the rear carriages in cramped, filthy conditions, oppressed by threat of violence from the train guards and sustained with protein blocks for food. Wilford's assistant takes children to Wilford for unknown reasons, and when one boy's father protests, his arm is exposed to the outside as punishment, freezing it solid before they smash it with a giant hammer.
Yeah, at least you wouldn't feel that part.
Yeah, Ewan Bremner popping up.
Trainspotting.
Yeah, yeah.
The sick boy? Spud,
isn't it? Yeah. Curtis, one of the rear-end passengers, conspires with his mentor Gilliam and protege Edgar to lead a revolt in order to take control of the engine. Curtis resolves to spark the revolution at the next food delivery, surmising that though guards have guns, they ran out of bullets fighting a previous revolution. The tail passengers rout the guards and take the security and prison cars. They release security expert Namgung Minsu and his clairvoyant daughter Yona, so he can disable the door locks between carriages in exchange for chronol, a hallucinogenic drug made from flammable industrial waste. In the next carriage, they are confronted by Minister Mason and a crew of masked men armed with melee weapons. They brawl, and the masked group gain the upper hand when the train enters a tunnel, as they each have night vision goggles. But the tail passengers bring fire from the rear and turn the tables, killing the remaining men, but at the cost of Edgar's life. Curtis takes Minister Mason hostage. They travel through further carriages and arrive at a classroom where children are taught propaganda and pray to Wilford and his sacred engine. While the group are distracted, the teacher ambushes them with a machine gun but is killed by Gray, Gilliam's bodyguard. Meanwhile, a similar ambush occurs in the tail section as Mason's henchmen kill the rebel army. Lead henchman Franco executes Gilliam, and Curtis does the same in turn to Mason. Curtis's group continue forward and have a violent bout with Franco in the spar carriage, resulting in the deaths of all but Curtis, Namgung and Yona. They arrive at the front carriage, but rather than opening the engine door, Namgung wants to blow open an exterior hatch, convinced that the Earth is becoming hospitable once again. He has been saving the chronol to use as an explosive. Curtis confesses to him that shortly after boarding the train, the tail passengers resorted to cannibalism to survive, and he is haunted by his part in it. He was nearly ready to kill the infant Edgar when Gilliam offered him his own arm instead.
Fine, mate.
Yeah, he says, I hate that I know that babies taste the best.
Yeah.
Which is one of the most grim things.
Doesn't make much sense. You think they wouldn't taste the best? They're just like fat on there.
Yeah, but isn't fatty meat is often the most flavourful?
How do I know?
Especially if you're roasting.
How do I know?
Wilford's assistant emerges and shoots Namgung, inviting Curtis into the engine carriage. There, Wilford reveals that he was working with Gilliam to reduce the population of the train to keep the train's delicate ecosystem in balance. Wilford is getting old, and having seen Curtis's leadership skills, he offers Curtis the chance to replace him as the train's leader. Curtis, now a broken man, seems ready to accept until he sees that the children taken from the tail section are used to manually replace failing parts of the train's engine. He rescues one child, Timmy, at the cost of his arm. Outside Wilford's chamber, Namgung finally kills Franco, and Yona lights the fuse on the chronol bomb. The blast causes an avalanche which derails the train, and only Timmy and Yona survive, protected by Curtis and Namgung's embrace, which kills both Curtis and Namgung.
Mm-hmm.
They emerge from the wreckage and see a polar bear in the distance, proof that life is returning to the planet. And that is how Snowpiercer ends, with the implication that both of them will be eaten
by a polar bear in about 5 seconds. Yeah. Polar bear. I mean, bears run like 30 miles an hour. Listen,
well,
polar bears, country, if you want to hear.
Polar bears are the only species on Earth that hunts humans.
Really?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Surely tigers would.
No, but they don't actively seek out and hunt humans.
Oh, well, you mean like if you were to draw the food chain, humans would in Neolithic times have been on the polar bear's dinner plate?
Yeah.
I think loads of animals would have eaten humans.
It's not about them eating them, it's about whether they hunt them, from my understanding. Anyway, it's not relevant. What did you think of Snowpiercer?
Yeah, good, mate. Like I said, I don't know why I like it. It's just like a weird film. Like from start to finish, you're just like, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, chronon, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's clairvoyant. That's fine. Don't worry about it. You eat babies. Okay, that's fine. Oh, Ed Harris is the train conductor, and he is just like, he's fine. That's all fine. It's fine. It's just weird.
So you're saying it's more than the sum of its parts because you're saying everything's fine, and yet you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good. It's like, I mean, fine as in like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You know when you just see something in a movie and you're just like, it's best I don't think too hard about this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
This movie bears don't think too hard about it. Don't worry about it.
That's just all it is.
Yeah.
So you're not buying a train that circumnavigates the globe.
Obviously not. It's just it's like it's absolutely hysterical. The whole film is just insane.
It's an adaptation of a manga, I think, isn't
That
it?
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. It definitely has that sort of tone. Bong Joon-ho also directed The Host, which is like a South Korean monster movie.
Okay. Is it good?
I think it's quite... I haven't seen it, but it's well liked. Yeah. Okja as well, he directed.
Right, okay.
And
John Ronson wrote that, right?
Yes, he did, yeah. And then he also has a new film out in Cannes at the moment, which is called The Parasite, which has been getting...
The Host and The Parasite.
Yeah, it's been getting very good reviews and a lot of people saying it's another Bong hit. Yeah, The Host and Snowpiercer are among the highest grossing movies of all time in South Korea.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting because they're not... to me, this is a...
Weird
it feels
cult
like
film.
Yeah, it feels like an art house film with a blockbuster premise.
Yeah.
It's really idiosyncratic, and it's hard to imagine it being that wide, having that wide of an appeal, even though it's quite action packed and it's got recognizable faces in it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's borne out by the fact that it's not a huge smash hit over here. But then maybe that is indicative of it being more a representation of South Korean culture. Like for whatever reason, things in this film appeal culturally to South Koreans.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, like, if you watch... I remember hearing Mark Kermode talk about this in the past, where he says, if you watch Ringu, as in the original version of The Ring, you get a sense that there's things in here that we culturally don't understand, but would probably resonate a lot more with a Japanese audience.
Yeah.
Is it Japanese?
It is Japanese, yeah, not Korean.
Yeah, but you take my point.
Yeah.
It's like, it's based in a cultural consciousness that we don't have. So
Yeah,
there's things like ghosts around water. In Japanese culture, ghosts appear around bodies of water.
Yeah.
So when you see that in The Ring or in The Grudge, Ringu and...
Dark Water.
Yeah. That's why. But we don't have that as a...
Yeah, it's not a point of cultural understanding.
No,
well, it's like Bollywood movies or anything, really, isn't it? Like, anything that is so idiosyncratically tied to a particular culture, non-Western culture, often seems to be, quite edgy and out there if you watch it through Western eyes. But obviously, if it's that popular in South Korea, it must be to some extent just a, blockbuster.
This is in Old Boy as well, right? There's that famous thing about how in the original he eats octopus when he gets out of prison, and it's meant to be like that is a Korean. I don't know the exact, context, but it's you eat octopus when you're out for revenge or something.
Right.
So then when he does it in the Josh Brolin remake, it's just
it doesn't make as much sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just because it's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
But then we don't have any food that you would substitute. Like, what would it if you were out for revenge? What food would you eat?
Just desserts.
Nice. Yeah, good. Let's just stop the podcast there. Not topping that. Tilda Swinton is in this film, Joe.
Yes. Tilda Swinton is the weirdest person in the world. Like, I hate her every time I see her now after Suspiria.
Right.
But then you're just like, well, whatever she's really doing, she's doing a particularly good job of it.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's really good in this. Almost unrecognisable.
Yeah. With the fake teeth.
The fake teeth and the like strange haircut and the what is it, like Brummie accent?
Yeah.
Which is just, again, that's another thing it's just fine. Fine. She is great in it. She's a very easily hateable woman.
Yeah.
As a villain. And I can't quite put my finger on why. aside from
She's-
aside from the obvious that she's like punitive and horrible, and but there's something sort of actually repulsive about her
Yeah.
in this role.
It's
Like there's an
bad
element,
teeth and stuff.
but it's not, is it? She's like got dentures in, hasn't she?
No, they're fake. They're bad.
Or like
teeth.
fake. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like I don't know. She's meant to be like that's deliberate.
She's grotesque, isn't she?
yeah, exactly.
Like that's the monsters are grotesque, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're a 10-foot giant hairy horned monster or whatever, or just someone who looks a bit uncanny, I guess.
Like, she's basically a bureaucrat and dealing out these horrible punishments and keeping things the way they are without really questioning why. Do you know what I mean? She's towing the party line, and that's what makes her, I think, villainous. Is the fact that she's just like
She's a company man.
exactly this is the way things are, and
Yeah.
this is how. And what did you say? And so it is, so it shall be, or something.
Yeah. The ultimate centrist.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Things need to remain the same.
I think that her best movie by far is obviously when you talk about Kevin.
Yeah, but then you think that we need to talk about Kevin was 2012, I think.
Yeah,
She did this the following year,
it's fucking mental.
and then I just off the top of my head,
Hail Caesar. She plays twins.
she's in Burn After Reading as well.
Yeah.
As the like sex cushion lover of George Clooney.
Yeah,
And in that, she's like really unlikable as well. It's
Yeah.
really strange. And she takes such interesting roles. As much as we sort of decried her performances in Suspiria.
they weren't bad performances.
Well,
They just-
she's great as the I can't remember her name now, but the main character that she plays in Suspiria.
right. The Madame Blanc.
Madame Blanc, yeah. But it's just the
But she's
sort
not bad as Dr. Kempler either. It's just like
yeah, but it's just why
yeah, exactly.
do
Yeah,
that,
yeah. But that
Yeah.
that applies to this as well. It's like, why are you doing a Bammy accent? Why are you doing
Yeah.
this? But it's fine.
Yeah, I think they're based from what I was reading about the film. Part of it is based around like people she knew, like an older teacher that she had,
I
who
can
was
see
an,
that,
an
yeah.
early authority figure in her life, and it's quite. I think that the look is based on some sort of like niche television personality from the 70s as well and stuff.
Right.
But like it's fascinating to. She's a fascinating actress. I think.
Yeah, she does take very interesting things.
Yeah. I think there's some really good set pieces in the film as well.
Yeah.
But,
Do you know what my favorite bit was?
go on.
When they used the like the barrels, they like tied them together
Right.
so they could crawl through. They wedged the sliding door open with the
Yeah.
barrels and then use it as like a crawl
As a
space to-
tunnel
yeah,
to
exactly.
crawl through. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, the just before that, when Curtis proves that they don't have bullets in their guns by running up, grabbing the gun, putting the barrel to his head, and pulling the trigger. Yeah, that's pretty
That's
good.
rolling the dice, isn't it?
It is rolling the dice, but it's a great moment because it pays off. Obviously,
Yeah.
I also like the flaming torch relay from the back of
Yeah.
the carriage to the front.
That's right.
Which is great, and the way that all plays
I like that
out.
there's that one guy who's just like amazing at fighting. Who just
Gray,
yeah.
played by Luke Pasqualano, I
Yeah.
think his name is, who's a Skins
Right, yeah.
alumnus.
So why isn't he just leading the charge all the time? He's amazing.
Well, he's like a bit kung fu. There's an element of that, isn't it? He's the one who like runs over the pipes and like,
There's like a Superman punch and
well, no, he like he like jumps off the wall and
yeah.
wraps his legs round. So isn't it some
Right.
guy who's like really big for some reason?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
it's been
but again, it's just
Yeah.
another one of those things that you supposed to not question. I mean, presumably he was born on the train.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So
Where did he learn that? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean there's a bit of an edge to the final scene, not just the polar bear situation, but obviously it's tricky family dynamic if they're going to repopulate the planet,
Where?
because she's a teenager and he's 5
Yeah, yeah.
and there's only 2 of them.
Don't worry about it, man.
That's fine.
Don't think too hard. I'm telling you. So you just
Yeah.
start thinking. The movie falls apart.
Right.
I think it's a very richly developed world on the train.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard an interview with Marlon James recently, who's the author who wrote History of 7 Killings and other things. He was on Adam Buxton's podcast.
Yeah.
And he said in fantasy, good fantasy feels like it's not a tourist guide because the characters aren't going to be like, oh, wow, a train where you it's snowing outside. It's just the world they live in. It's just everything just fine, normal to them. It just accepts that as the world as it is, right? And that's definitely the case in Snowpiercer. Like, it feels like the rules of the world are well established before the film even starts running.
Yeah.
And we're just shown everything as a matter of fact and trying to have to piece it together.
Yeah.
Like cutting off people's arms using like the Arctic tundra.
Yeah.
That's just, it makes sense. Like, you're using the world. That's
no
fine.
one says, listen,
Wade,
this is the punishment that we're dishing out.
Yeah.
Like, it's matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're just going through the motions because that's what they do all the time. I think that is to its benefit because it makes it feel like a much more lived-in world.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's just kind of sick of it all. Like, nothing's new to them because they've gone through it. Whereas to us, it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's all the better for that, really.
Absolutely.
And I do love all the sort of strange, quirky details because it really helps create that sort of convincing and interesting world, considering it's such an absurd premise. Just things like the masked men coating their weapons in fish blood.
Yeah.
Before the start of the fight.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Not explained or given any reason. I like during that same fight as well, they all stop because the train passes a place called Yekaterina Bridge, which is sort of counted as the ersatz calendar New Year point. New Year, yeah. So they all stop and cheers it basically, and then carry on fighting. It's like a really odd thing. And yeah, like you say, the sort of the using of the environment as a sort of punishment. You know, the external part of the train, which they all seem like fairly believable things. Like if a society had to be built in a train, everything, for 20 years, it's all
exactly. The environment, like in the real world, you live off the land, right? It's kind of like the environment is part of every facet of their lives.
Yeah,
they see the world in terms of the schema they have is trains and snow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those are the only two points of reference. Yeah,
that's why their god is an engine. It's kind of like Mad Max, right? Where it's post oil, so their god is oil and like machines, and they're like
the steering wheel thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's similar actually to Mad Max, certainly Fury Road, in that it does create a really strange world, but doesn't take the time to explain it to you.
Exactly.
It's like, well, you're either going to get on board with it or you're not, and I don't really care.
No, exactly. It's like, it's never like, Immortan Joe is the leader of it's just like, this is Immortan Joe.
Yeah. It's also a political film, a film with a political statement.
Yeah.
Do you think that the politics in this film are a bit on the heavy side, heavy-handed?
I think...
So how would you explain the politics?
Its class systems are bad.
Yeah.
And, they, like, obviously they put value on people's lives where there's no inherent value. Everyone should be
There's
equal.
no inherent difference. It's just where you happen to be on the train.
Where you have to be born, where you got on or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it's a metaphor for inequality in society.
Do you think the message is any deeper than just, oppression is bad, class oppression is bad?
I guess.
Does it have to be?
Megalomania is bad as well.
Right.
But
on the part of who? Wilford?
Yeah. Because he obviously, I think he believes he's kind of a god, doesn't he?
Yeah. In certain ways it seems
he doesn't mind people believing that anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs more than that. I think the best movies we cover often do have some sort of political message. This is obvious. It's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
The fact that it's on a train and it uses the class system, first class, carriage class, cattle class. Whatever.
You can see where the writer would have had the initial idea, getting on a train.
Yeah.
And everyone is divided into, different things. There's different carriages have different feels to them.
Exactly. Like, we can compare it with Train to Busan from last week, right?
Yeah.
Where the train in that it's just zombies on a train, isn't it? That's the movie.
To some extent, but then also you do have that same division at certain points in Train to Busan because people are forced into certain sections of the train by other groups.
Yeah, but that's less to do with classes and more to do with just there's zombies in the way.
Yeah.
There's not like the social hierarchy of the train hasn't been established.
No, but it is a social hierarchy in that scene because I'm talking about the scene where the larger group literally force the smaller group of people into a section of the train to be isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that does feel, especially because the leader of that group is a CEO or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that does feel like it's a sort of.
But the leader of the other group is a hedge fund manager, so
that is true. Yeah. Well, he's getting a taste of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you compare that with Snowpiercer, I think Snowpiercer uses the train for a lot more. So, I mean, it's literally class system taken to the extreme, right? It's like you said, the feeling of being on a train and being pissed off that first class passengers get free Wi-Fi on Virgin trains, for example.
Yeah.
But it's taken to the ultimate conclusion where Richard Branson lives on the train using child slaves to keep the train moving and dismembering other passengers by freezing off their limbs.
Yeah, and all the regular class people have to eat ground up cockroaches.
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere that initially the in an initial draft the protein stuff is just made out of the other passengers' shit.
Fuck. That's so fucking disgusting.
Which is refined, and it also kind of explains why he's so horrified.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, I eat crickets. That's okay.
Because like I think
people eat crickets in the world now. That's not so
right. Exactly. Yeah,
shit.
and so I think I read somewhere that was what the original plan was, but they were like, that's just too disgusting. And it doesn't really factor into it.
No,
it doesn't factor into the rest of the film.
Well, it kind of does. You got like Wilford just like cooking himself a steak. Just
well, there is that, and the sushi and all that sort of thing. But then also the I mean, it being the upper class passengers' shit would be another like level of heavy-handed commentary.
Crumbs from the table.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Do you feel like the train setting is necessary for this story, and to a lesser extent, Train to Busan?
I think so. I think, it works very well for it. Is it necessary? You could have a social drama. You could have Les Mis, right, which is much the same story.
Yeah.
Similar-ish ending. Maybe not. I can't remember. Yeah, you remember in the end of
there's a polar bear.
Yeah, polar bear comes in. Yeah, and John Valjean's like dead, and the girl takes the child with the implication that they're going to have babies.
Yeah, or they get eaten. Yeah,
and the avalanche derails the train.
Yeah,
you remember Les Mis? Yeah, everyone knows that story. Victor Hugo classic, but the I mean, it's like High Rise, isn't it? It's the same thing.
Yeah,
there's a social system in place in a potted environment, and it could be the High Rise, it works really well in High Rise. High Rise is a great film.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it. But it's the same thing. It's just you have a visual representation of a metaphorical hierarchy.
But then does it have to be a train? Like what? Why?
We're not in High Rise. It's a building.
Right. Exactly. So what I'm saying is that could you have Snowpiercer in a building? Could you have?
Yeah, it's called High Rise.
High Rise, yeah. But it could be any. The actual train element of it isn't really vital because it could be a spaceship.
Well, exactly.
Because it could be anything where.
But you need the world to have ended because these are the only survivors.
Well, yeah, you just got to be in a. Well, like if it was a spaceship, it could just be. You're in space.
Yeah,
there's nowhere else to go.
Bunker.
Yeah, like so it's. Yeah, but it's interesting that they choose a train, and I guess it's because it grounds it in a sort of hierarchy structure that people are familiar with because people buy train tickets.
Yeah, first class, second class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be on a plane. You're on a plane where like you have to walk through. It is that feeling, isn't it? When you get on a plane and the business class passengers are already boarded. You're just
Yeah.
like, I just want to fucking punch them.
Yeah.
I want
Sitting
what I
there
want to do
being
is,
served champagne.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we're just like, I'm gonna go to the back now.
Yeah, standing class only. Did you know they tried to bring that in?
That was April Fool, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Just holding onto a rail.
Yeah, it's literally
That's so
like
funny.
standing seats. I think like Train to Busan, it does make the most of its setting though, just from like a sort of filmmaking perspective, because you've got all the sort of like in Train to Busan, you had all the train elements that made for sort of interesting set pieces.
So there's a zombie in the enclosed toilet.
Yeah,
There's
right.
sliding doors.
Yeah. So likewise with this one, there are tunnels. There's that scene where there's like a long overlapping corner.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But where there's then for like a certain amount of time a line of sight between carriages.
Yeah, so
which
you
is
can shoot
great.
between carriages.
Yeah, which is really cool. You debris on the tracks, all that sort of stuff. I think unlike Train to Busan, Snowpiercer makes a point of having the exterior of the train be a sort of crucial part of the setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you could, like, that's why you're on the train, right?
Yeah.
In a sense, in Train to Busan, you want to get off the train.
Yes.
In this, you want to stay on it.
Yeah, and there is no destination, so it's just like it could be a spaceship or whatever.
Yeah,
It doesn't really matter. But I love some of the carriage designs as well. They're fantastic. Like the aquarium is amazing. The idea of there being a spa, spa carriage is so absurd.
Yeah, there's one where they just keep all the meat.
Yeah. There is like a gradual progression of class as they go up the train, which is really fun.
The school classroom was a bit weird.
In what way?
It's just like that. That's where I thought the movie was maybe a little bit baggy, when they're like, she sings for a long time.
Yeah, I know, but that again, that's just like one of those weird elements of the film that makes it so idiosyncratic, and I quite like that sort of thing. It's it's quite interesting.
Good, mate. Pregnant woman with a machine gun gets shot to death. And
Why not?
You're like, wait, that's fine. That's fine, is it, mate?
Yeah.
So, mate, 2 movies about trains we've covered now.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, what do you really know about trains in movies?
I'd love to find out.
Let's find out in my Trains in Movies quiz. So the game is, I'm going to read a quote from a film, ideally about the train in the film.
Yeah. And I have to tell you what wrestler said it.
Yeah, right. That's a reference to the They Live episode of the podcast, which was probably the last time I did a quiz.
Yeah, I think we had a moratorium on quizzes for a while after that.
This
travesty.
It's going to blow your mind. I'm going to read you the quote from the film.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me the film it came from.
Okay.
Where possible, the quote is about a train.
Okay.
Or about
where possible
mechanism on the train.
Okay, fine.
Nice easy one to start. Question 1. This is the lever and this is the brake. Use it only when it's not dangerous, all right?
That would be Train to Busan.
Yes. Sekwu explaining the mansplaining how a train works.
Exactly. Yeah. See last week's episode for details.
Question 2. The best things on the train are not food. There's something about a tangle of strangers pressed together for days on end, with nothing in common but the need to go from one place to another, then never see each other again. Boredom plus anonymity plus a constant gentle rocking.
For days on end, did you say?
Yep.
Was it Murder on the Orient Express?
Correct. Seen it, yeah?
The Ken Branagh one.
New one, yeah.
Is it Ken Branagh?
Ken Branagh, yeah. He made it. And Johnny Depp's in it.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah.
Good.
It's not good at all.
We had the soundtrack on New Year's Eve, do you remember?
Yes, we did. But that was because we were doing an escape room board game.
Yeah. About a train.
About a murder on the something express. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Something legally distinct, anyway.
Yeah, that was what a New Year's Eve.
It was good. It was great. It was really good.
And the guy next door doing his fireworks.
Yeah, there you go. Make it more and more specific until we lose all of our listeners, please.
Question 3. Well, considering that we've lost communication with the engineer and are standing totally exposed on the front of the locomotive, and the train seems to be accelerating uncontrollably, not to mention that we're headed to Glacier Gulch, which just happens to be the steepest downhill grade in the world, I suggest we all hold on. Tightly.
Polar Express?
Yeah! Fuck. Nice.
Yeah. There you
No,
go.
I thought none of these.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay. There you go.
You're 3 for 3.
Yeah. How many are there?
6.
Okay. Halfway there.
Question 4. How can a train be lost? It's on rails.
How can a train be lost?
Yeah.
It's on rails. Is it the Denzel Washington
No.
action movie? It's
No,
not.
It's the Darjeeling Limited.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Question 5. You haven't seen Darjeeling Limited?
No.
I feel like you're right with your street.
Yeah, I like Wes Anderson. I've not seen that one.
Question 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's a maniac. I met him on a train going to Metcalfe. He had some crazy scheme about exchanging murders. I'd do his murder, he'd do mine.
Strangers on a Train.
Fuck me. Have you seen every train movie?
No, because I haven't seen the Darjeeling Limited.
Right, that's true. Last
Have
one.
you seen Strangers on a Train?
No.
It's really good.
Hitchcock
You should watch
is
it.
a good director.
Yeah. He's up and coming.
Yeah. Question 6.
Mhm.
Last one. Yeah, see, there's me, you, and there's Mama. And see, this is the little train. Toot, toot.
Would I have seen it?
Doubtful.
Any sort of clue? Is it just like some nonsense that I'll never get?
Probably. But. Say who's in it.
Go on.
Danny DeVito, Billy Crystal.
Oh, it's not that.
No, it's Throw Mama from the Train.
Right. Good. Good, is it?
65% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
4 out of 6 then.
yeah, well done.
Not too bad.
I was gonna do names of trains in movies. So you could have
Yeah.
Snowpiercer.
But they're all
Or-
the title of the film.
Yeah, exactly. Katie Flyer. Do you know that?
No.
True Grit, mate. It's the
Oh,
train
right.
they rob off screen.
Great.
See, if you've seen True Grit like 16 or 17 times, you
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. This is why you don't have time to watch the films that we're actually covering. It's because you're just rewatching True Grit.
There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not that I didn't have time to watch it. I just watched it out of order.
Yeah.
I watched
that's true.
Snowpiercer.
This is the earliest you've ever watched a film for
yeah,
the podcast.
that's true.
Which is why you asked me to host it, because you'd forgotten everything about it.
Yeah, when you did the recap, I was like, oh yeah, she's clairvoyant. That has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, yeah, it's Frozen.
Yeah. All right, fine.
Well, with all that said, Joe,
Mm.
we're at the point in the podcast where I ask you the $1 million question. How would you survive?
So the obvious
Mm-hmm.
point is that they all die except for 2 people. So who's the real winner?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, is it better to be
dead.
for everyone to be dead,
Yeah.
or is it better to be like unhappy and uncomfortable?
Well,
but
it's like
alive?
it's a moral quandary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it worth living if this is what humanity has
Mm.
to resort to, with that thing being the enslavement of children
Right.
in
Yeah.
cramped conditions?
It's
So what you're about to say is that you are fine with that.
It's the I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that children were enslaved.
But he did know, and
the
he
end
had
he
he had the
In the
decision
end,
to make.
yeah. But
Yeah.
he didn't decide to blow the train.
Yeah, he did, because he handed the matches to Yona.
Mm.
That was his decision. He was refusing to light the bomb until he saw the children. At which point he
Right.
was like, whatever, however many thousands of people are on this train, and whatever happens to humanity as a result, it doesn't deserve to survive if we're using child slaves.
Right. I see what you mean. I would say he didn't know that at the beginning, did he?
No.
When
But
he
he
started
wasn't,
his little rebellion.
but he wasn't trying to destroy the train at that point.
I think he was.
He was trying. No, he wasn't. He was trying to seize the means of production.
Mm.
And
Well, if he hadn't done that, who benefits from this?
the moral purity of Curtis.
Yeah.
He basically is an obvious parallel to his story, isn't it? He had this moment where Curtis, as a good man, was born, where someone sacrificed his arm to save a child.
Yeah.
And at the end of the film, Curtis sacrifices his arm to save a child, which means that he has reached moral enlightenment.
I understand the
or whatever.
parallelism of that point. What Gilliam didn't do was kill all of humanity.
Yes, I know, but it's the classic, how many films have this sort of moral thing of well, if humanity has resorted to this, then maybe we don't deserve to survive.
Yeah, I guess it's like the trolley problem. If the trolley problem had the option to derail the trolley and kill everyone on it.
Yeah, well, that is basically killing the group, isn't it, to save the innocent or whatever.
Do you understand? I'm not too satisfied with the ending. I think it's stupid.
Well,
It's compelling to visually. I'm like,
but it makes more sense as a thematic ending than it does a plot ending.
Yeah, right.
But that's because it's basically the theme of the film is that oppression is so bad that if there's no way to survive without it, then we don't deserve to survive.
Right.
If humanity can't find a way to coexist peacefully, then it doesn't deserve to continue.
So do you think there's no possibility that they could have found a way to get that machine running without?
It's not. I'm not the one holding the matches.
No, I think it was.
The reason they're using the children is because the parts don't exist because the world has ended.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're saying, I don't know.
I don't know, mate. I think to bring it back to my survival tip: do nothing, and everyone would survive.
Yeah. Although the film does pose the question of whether Curtis is really in control of his actions in some ways, because
Gilliam set him up.
Yeah, because Gilliam is a turncoat.
Yeah, that's true. Had long conversations into the night. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are they doing that in secret?
There's a telephone in his wall, isn't there?
Anyway, so you disagree? I mean, to the point, right? Net survival, do nothing at the beginning. Do you agree?
Yes, although it's not a situation that's going to, continue indefinitely. It feels, does it? There's always going to be a revolution, I think. Speaking of which, if I am Minister Mason, they don't load the guns of the guards who are watching the prisoners, or not the prisoners, the tail section passengers. Now, if they did do that, because as it turns out they do have bullets in the train, then the revolution would have ended when Curtis shot himself in the head. And they went, they do have guns. They do have bullets in the guns.
Yeah, we should rethink this.
Yeah, and it seems as though the rest of the train are quite happy and probably largely govern themselves because they just feel lucky to be alive and living in such luxury. I'd imagine that bullets are not really necessary at that end of the train in order to keep order.
No, I can understand it as a last ditch though. Like the last line of defense should have the most savage weaponry.
And I guess possibly you don't want the guards manning the tail passengers to have bullets because if their guns get taken, then all the tail passengers have guns. So maybe that is, but I maintain that
if a bullet was in that gun, it would
the thing that gives the tail passengers the motivation to revolt in that instance is Curtis proving that they don't have bullets, whereas the revolution would be a lot less likely to happen if Curtis just shot himself in the head and died instantly.
Equally though, if you're that guard, just smash him in the face with a gun anyway. Just beat him up.
Yeah, I think maybe the implication is that the guards are just all show, aren't they? Like they're not really.
They're not muscle.
No, the muscle arrives later, and they're all wearing balaclavas and carrying axes.
To the same point, then have them as the guards.
Yeah, but again, like the weaponry issue, and also they're there en masse, aren't there? There's like 40 of them, so it's like and they don't survive anyway. So
That's true.
you know,
How do they? Is it just they swamp them?
yeah, basically.
Hmm.
Any more ideas?
Yeah, one more from me. So not too many this week, but
Mhm.
it's a fairly it's a film on rails, isn't it?
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that the only option available to them was to cut off their own limbs.
To feed people.
Yeah.
Well, what other options are there?
Well, it's cannibalism, right? It's
Yeah.
it's exactly saying like cut off my arm and you can eat it. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There must be people dying. There's loads of people there. Just wait till someone dies and then eat them.
He says something about they started by eating the weak.
We eat the dead, don't eat the weak.
Yeah, I know, but presumably they either can't wait until people die of starvation, which presumably takes ages.
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, like so. What's your
Well, why
point?
can't they wait?
Because they would starve.
Well, yeah, fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's,
Yeah, but
if it was you and me trapped in a room,
yeah,
and we were like, we need to survive for 2 weeks. We're definitely not both going to make it, but one of us can.
yeah,
I imagine we'd come up with some sort of pact, like first one to die can be eaten by the other.
yeah. But then, like, what if you're dying and you decide that you don't want to die because you're dying of hunger, and if you
Well, that's the point. The other person has to have died of hunger first.
yeah, but they're just taking a shortcut to that end anyway, aren't they?
No,
because they're killing the weak. They're killing the people who are already dying so
Yeah.
that they can eat them.
But they're not dead.
No,
So don't kill people. Just wait till they die.
but then you would starve.
But
Like
you
imagine
wouldn't.
how much pain you are in when you're starving.
Okay, listen, right? If it's you and me,
What you're saying is be patient,
yes.
right? Yeah, but I'm saying that people who are starving to death
Mm.
are not going to be in the right state of mind to take that advice on board. Would you agree?
Possibly.
Like, I get your thing of if everyone's behaving in a cold, logical manner,
Yeah.
you
We
basically
all sit around in a circle.
yeah,
And when someone drops, you eat them.
yeah, exactly right. I don't believe that is how the system was functioning at that time,
No. Well, evidently.
because they say it was like standing room only,
Mm.
and imagine just standing in the dark for weeks until people die so that you can eat them.
Ask for volunteers. Literally what they did. Literally what they did. I don't know. I just feel like there must have been better ways.
Better ways than
Cutting off your own arms and legs.
yeah. I mean, I guess in some ways it makes sense because that way no one dies.
It's true.
So what you're saying is rather than have people survive, albeit with a loss of limb, just have people die, and that's better. The podcast How to Survive.
Fine. I withdraw my claim.
I've got a thing which is just about the logistics of the train.
Okay.
Because it seems a bit mad to me that you have to go through the nightclub in order to get to the dentist, the tailor,
Yeah.
spa, or restaurant areas of
Where
the
would
train.
you put the nightclub then?
Well, I don't know, but it's hard to figure out the geography of the train. But imagine if you're like, oh, should we go out for dinner tonight? And they're like, yeah, that'd be nice. And then you're like, well, we have to walk through, fabric to get there. It would put you off going, wouldn't it?
No? You can just walk through.
You can just walk through it and that's fine. It just seems a bit stupid. Like, what if you just need to go get a suit and then you're
Right.
coming back and you've got like your suit with you?
Yeah.
People are like bumping into you, spilling drinks and all
But
that
by
sort of
fabric,
thing.
you mean the nightclub fabric,
Yes.
not like walk through
Yes.
some cotton.
Yes, that's correct. It's not even nighttime when they go through there and it's kicking off in there.
Yeah.
People are going nuts.
That's
Like,
true.
surely that's not the best use of the space. And surely it's in the wrong part of the train.
Yoga retreat would be better, wouldn't it?
Because the only other thing is that it appears that it's quite near the front of the train, the nightclub. And it might be that it's like the nightclub is that end of the train and beyond that is just the engine. But then if you're Wilford, you don't want to have a nightclub like next door because that's a terrible idea.
I don't think he minds too much, mate. Like all he cares about is that.
Then
shit.
again, he is also next door to the biggest engine in the world.
Yeah. Do you think that's kicking out a few fumes, making it a bit funny?
Yeah, well, it's perpetual motion though, isn't it? So it's like,
Right.
does it kick out anything?
Evidently not. I don't know.
My final point is just to tell Yona about the Chronol plan so that she doesn't become addicted to Chronol, trying to be like her father.
So he's not actually addicted.
Yeah, that's the implication that I got, because they keep giving him Chronol, but he's got like a rugby ball sized lump of it at the end, which suggests that he hasn't ever taken any of it.
Yeah.
And his plan all along is to
blow the doors.
Yeah. But Yona doesn't seem to have got that memo. So she's like high as a kite.
Yeah.
She's like lying on the ground.
Yeah, nodded out.
Yeah. Whereas he's like, I need to enact my plan, but I've been shot. It's like, if Nangum isn't really an addict, he should tell his daughter.
Yeah, don't really take this. But then a secret's not a secret when you tell someone, mate.
But that's just a buzz phrase that you've come up
it's
with.
not,
That doesn't
it's
mean
not.
anything.
Well, I showed you a magic trick earlier, didn't I?
So you think that basically if he tells her, then other people will find out.
Yeah, exactly. I showed you a magic trick earlier.
Yeah.
You were impressed.
Well,
I'm pleased you didn't ask me, because I wouldn't have told you how I did it.
You were desperate for me to ask you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have told you.
Yeah, I know, but that was just because you wanted me to ask you, because you were planning on not telling me so that you could have the enjoyment of saying, I can't tell you, mate.
Yeah, magician circle and all that. But the thing is, if I told you, then it would ruin the trick. And like, it would ruin his plan to tell people.
Yeah.
If she lets it slip because she wants to take drugs, she's like, I'll tell you what my dad's up to if you give me the drugs. You know what I mean? You can't trust the drug addict to keep a secret.
He's not giving it. The point is that she might not have become an addict if he hadn't told her that he was doing loads of Chronol.
Yeah, I just said that you can't trust a drug addict to keep secrets, but that's not quite what I meant. What I meant is you can't trust a Chronol addict on a Snowpiercer train to keep a secret about blowing the doors off of that train.
Right.
When they're addicted to Chronol.
So he's sacrificed his daughter to addiction.
What's she going to do now?
Yeah, she's going to go cold turkey in the frozen wasteland.
Cold polar bear, mate.
Yeah, well, she won't have to worry about it for long, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Well, that just about covers it, Joe, I would say. Snowpiercer there. And that brings to a close train season.
Oh, it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, we've reached our final destination. All change, please. Next week, we're going to do a couple of listener requests, starting next week with Wolf Creek, the 2005 Australian horror movie, which is oft requested. We'll have to dig out who requested it exactly, but a lot of people have written in over the years telling us to do it. So now we are going to do it. And that's followed the week after by Cabin Fever, the Eli Roth movie. So a couple of early noughties, nasty, bloody films to get into.
Lovely.
In the coming weeks.
Can't
if you'd like
wait.
to suggest a film, email in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com. You can also tweet at howtosurvivepod.
Yeah. 3 emails this week, Chris. First one's from Clayton, who says, "Hey guys, big time fan from Texas in the USA. I recently came upon a gem of sorts while scrolling through Amazon Prime horror movies. I think you guys might enjoy it. The movie's called Bad Ben, and it's, in my opinion, not too shabby for its budget, with a sequel titled Badder Ben. What could go wrong? Hope to see an episode on this, and if not, I hope you watch it just for kicks."
Now, we watched the trailer for Bad Ben.
I mean, if you think back, we had someone recommend Bad Ben some time ago.
Yeah, we've had a few people now.
You only just stopped laughing.
Yeah, well, we're just not ever going to watch it, are we?
Bad Ben.
Yeah. You saw the trailer.
Yeah, it's really ropey.
It's really, really bad. Yeah. And we like people to listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Number of people. Like,
I tell you what, if 100 people email in and suggest Bad Ben, then we'll do it.
Yeah, we're on 3 now.
Yeah.
No.
So only another 97. And we look at the numbers every day, so we know how many people are listening. So
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible that 100 people will email in.
Yeah. I mean, we were likely to do something like when we did Titanic, that was popular because everyone's seen Titanic.
Yeah.
Or like War of the Worlds or like blockbusters. If we did Inception or Gravity, those would probably be really good. Mm-hmm. But we don't do those because they're not quite on brand. And we're probably not going to do Bad Ben.
We'll probably get around to them at some point.
Sorry, Clayton.
Yeah.
It's going on the list, but
near the bottom.
Email from Chris, who says, "Hey guys, I recently found your podcast for your Final Destination marathon video that showed up in my YouTube recommendation list. YouTube finally getting something right. I love horror movies, good and bad, and I've been really enjoying the How to Survive approach to analysing and discussing these films. Well, thank you, Chris. I'm still working my way through the catalogue of episodes, so if this is covered, then apologies in advance, but I'd like to hear your take on the 2008 US remake of the Thai horror movie Shutter. Thanks in advance. Do that. Shutter.
I have not seen it.
Heard of it?
Yes. I have a suspicion that it would be probably better to do the original, but...
Do both. Pair them up.
Yeah.
Shutter season.
Right, there you go. Shutter season coming up one day.
Thanks, Chris. Email here from Alvina. I saw your Final Destination series video several weeks ago. I've been consuming podcasts while working ever since. I generally don't like watching scary movies for the sake of being scared, but I like supernatural elements and interesting plots, and thus enjoy your coverage a lot.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion I feel has a lot of potential for discussion. It's not a horror movie, it's a comedy actually, but still one of my favourites. Genuinely one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and the main character's survival is a key point in the plot. Might I recommend the legendary Scott Pilgrim vs. the World? Hope you enjoy, and for a bonus challenge, if you do end up reading this on air, try to pronounce my name. I'll give you a hint, it's a constellation. I've gone for Alvina. It could be pronounced Orion's Belt. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, thank you for that email. Yeah, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I think I've seen it once, maybe twice. I like it. Put it on the list. Why not?
Email here from Arcats 1984, who says, I recommend you review the VHS series. It's a found footage, but it's also a short story anthology that mostly finds creative ways to use the camera. The second movie is the best of the franchise, followed by the first one. The third one, which has a subtitle, is the weakest, so don't expect much from it.
The second one has a short by
Adam Wingard, right?
I was going to say Gareth Evans. One of them, he's got a short in one of them, definitely.
I think Adam Wingard, maybe he produced them all.
Yes, I think produced them. We talked about it when we talked about Blair Witch, because Brad Misker was involved as well.
Yes.
Those are the days. We've also had a couple of tweets, Joe. You can tweet at HowToSurvivePod. Chris says, in honour of train season, how about an episode on Midnight Meat Train, which I think is a Vinnie Jones horror movie?
That sounds... Midnight Meat Train doesn't sound like a horror movie.
Well, it depends on your outlook.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can do our due diligence, and then possibly put it on the list for Train Season 2. And someone on Twitter called Rigor Mortis says that I know it isn't the most hot topic film, but I do always enjoy when you get into deep discussions. As such, I'd like to see you take a shot at the film 1408. I just have to know how you would survive it. And I've seen 1408. It's quite good. I haven't seen it for many years.
So it's the one with the suffering writer trapped in the haunted room.
Yeah.
Is it
but not Secret Window or the number 23
yeah.
or no, it's John Cusack, I think, and it's a Stephen King short story adaptation, possibly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll stick it on the list, 1408. So that was howtosurviveshow@gmail.com if you want to email in, and at howtosurvivepod if you want to tweet. And then don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or whatever your podcatcher of choice is, as that would really help us find more listeners.
Yeah.
With all that said, Joe...
A light here for services to Wolf Creek.
Yes. We'll see you next week. That service is leaving midnight on the 30th of May from this station. Until then...
I belong to the front, you belong to the tail. When the foot seeks the place of the head, the sacred line is crossed. Know your place, keep your place. Be a shoe. So it is.